Sally Brownbill, as you probably know because you're looking at the Brownbill Effect, and today I'm thrilled to have a really old friend of mine. We'll talk about how we met originally, Dimitri Antonopoulos from We Are Tank.
From Tank, yeah.
From Tank. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Fantastic. So before we get into talking about what you're doing now, let's go right back to the very beginning. How did we meet? I love this.
Oh, we met at RMIT. You were one of my lecturers.
Yes,
I studied advertising and marketing, and what did we do together? Photography.
We did photography.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago. And
it was a long time ago.
But it's interesting why I want to talk about that is because you studied advertising, yet you didn't go. We just talked before about, no, I never went anywhere near advertising. So what was that catalyst to study advertising and not design? Why did you do that?
I worked in marketing, but the advertising industry I didn't touch really. It was actually of zero interest to me. I think late 90s, early 2000s, I kind of really began seeking meaning in my work, and I just knew at the time I wasn't going to find it in the advertising industry. And I know that's a shade, but at the time that's exactly how I felt. I just wanted meaning in my work, and I sort of gravitated towards, I navigated different industries, but I gravitated towards emerging technology at the time, and then progressed out beyond that. So that's the reason why I didn't work. I couldn't find meaning. Yeah,
okay. I think it's really interesting because we've both got kids, and yours are going through high school now. Mine's finished, but as a kid growing up, you didn't think about studying design, or you didn't know about it? Or?
I had studied design.
Oh, so you were a mature age student when you came to us?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God, because I was actually feeling really old thinking that you...
No, I had studied design as well, art and design back in the late 80s, early 90s.
And so did you work for other companies first?
Yeah, I did. I worked in, at the time was emerging technology. I worked for like .coms in the 90s, all the way through to the mid-2000s. I worked in new technology companies, worked in strategy and research, which I found meaning in, and really loved the kind of pre-problem space, like really understanding the tensions between stakeholders and trying to help them understand or find the different problems that needed solving, and then consolidating those problems into a brief or an RFP or a strategy. So I did lots of that in the early 2000s.
For other people?
For organisations, for employers, so to speak. And around 2007, a small design business called Tank, there were about 4 people at the time, offered me the creative director role. And then just through conversations, I went in as an equity owner, 25% owner, and now I'm 100% owner of the business after we scaled the business to about 30 employees plus freelancers, so it's quite a largish business for our industry. And then I kind of restructured whilst I took over the business as well.
And was that long before COVID?
Well, long before COVID, yeah. So what is that, 2025? So about 12 years ago, I really loved the agility and flexibility of the early tech industry, where I would work with engineers, business analysts, researchers, designers, illustrators, real mix of people that were not like permanent in the team. They would move across. I really loved that sort of flexibility, because when they would come back, they would bring new insights, right? And I'm not talking about they'd go off and work on another project. They go off and work in another organisation, and then they'd come back. So they were seconded, and even I was seconded out back at the time. So we would all bring back new insights. So I really loved that. And in a permanent employee business, we're about 28, 29, you don't get that. No. You're just permanent employees, and you're kind of at the water cooler and all that. So about 10, 12 years ago, I restructured our business to include, at the moment, we've got about 20 independent contractors. They're our number ones, like our bench. And then we have a group, our layer outside of that. And we're constantly building and rebuilding teams for a client, or sometimes a problem, which includes multiple clients.
It's a very effective and healthy way to work, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I looked at my business a really long time ago, and I used to have permanent employees, and similar thing, like it was great, but we were all in it together. So now, many years ago, I did the similar thing, and like I've got Shani now, and people that come in and do writing, or it's a bit like making it up as you go, but all these people come in with these new ideas, and
that's right.
it keeps it fresh, doesn't it?
That's right. And every conversation can end with the question of, what can we do together? Whereas in a...
I haven't asked that yet, but I'm about to.
Yeah, so which is great, because in a permanent FTE business, you got 30 salaries plus yours to kind of earn and pay.
Yep.
You're constantly in that kind of treadmill, or you're the mouse in the wheel running. I certainly felt that way, and there are pros and cons of either model, of course, but it really suited us. The other thing we did was decentralise. I remember realising I was sitting in the office, probably the last time I saw you.
Was that in Collins Street?
Yeah, we had a Collins Street office, which is really great, fancy. But I just realised that I kind of was there all on my own all the time, and I was paying this exorbitant rent. And I wasn't into the, that co-working culture of beer on tap, ping pong tables.
Oh,
I'm just...
Have you seen the latest Fisk where they do that? I am so all over that. I thought that I would have a go at that, and I went in there, and at one point all these people got up, and I said, "Where are they going?" And he said, "Oh, we're going for a walk down Bridge Road to have coffee." And I went, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. I'm just a complete introvert, and which doesn't make me unable to communicate, because you know me quite well, right? I can chat to the cows come home.
Absolutely.
But ping pong tables, beer on tap. I did that in my 20s.
Yes, exactly.
I'm happy to leave it in my 20s.
Yeah.
We decentralise, so our teams work from wherever they want, whenever they want. So that's specifically the rule that we kind of go by, or the principle we go by.
It's wonderful, because there's so many things that we're going to be talking about today, and I may as well start it now. One of the things is your weekly newsletter that you write. I was looking at some of them on your site. Obviously, I get them every week. And I was looking at the testimonials that so many people write from all over the world.
Yeah, right.
And I know that I myself have taken time. I read it all the time. And then I've written back to you a few times going, "Oh, this is a funny story about my dad." Yeah. Or because you're so... you wear your heart in your sleeve. You're very truthful. There's so many people out there that are saying things like, "Thank you for having the bravery to call it out," and all. How do you feel about all that?
I love it. It's humbling, and it's a great ego boost to know. But it's really humbling to connect and touch another person around another side of the world.
But it's also so beautiful to just hear about how your kids are going, and the shit that happened last week, and the passing of parents, and because we at our age we're all going through that, and this, you said before, I'm a bit of an introvert, but I'm a great communicator. And there was one that you wrote about last week, and I was out for dinner on Friday night with friends, and I brought it up because you said about, when people go, "Hey, how are you?" "Good, yeah, really good." And that's just such bullshit. Whereas I will often go, people go, "How are you?" And you can read it on my face. Like, I'd be terrible at poker. And I go, "Oh my God," so do that. And then I go, "I bet you wish you didn't ask me that." But that was what last week's was about, wasn't it?
It should be okay. It should be okay to say, "Look, I'm actually really crappy at the moment." I started that weekly journal just about 10 years ago. And I wanted to do it to explore creative leadership, and leadership, ethical leadership, because in those spaces, they're vacuous. I've done a heap of leadership courses, I'm sure you have, and many people watching have, and they go through the motion, and they just scratch the surface. They barely.
Well, they take it over a book, don't they?
That's right. That's right.
Not from here.
That's right. There's barely any lived experience within it. There's barely any, speaking about how you handle, trauma or the loss of a loved one when you enter the workplace, or when you engage with someone, the acknowledgement of loss, etc. To use that example that you mentioned. Absolutely. So I kind of just write essentially a weekly journal. That's all it is. It's not a promotional thing. It's just a weekly essay.
Are you going to do anything with it?
I'm about 65,000 words into a book about understanding how some people have used their creativity to change the world, and directly, and really look at those people and what makes them really different and interesting in the vein of the style of the weekly journal. So yeah, I might be. I think a couple of weeks ago I wrote about Nina Simone, who was an extraordinary musician, but also an amazing songwriter. And the songs she wrote were actually very core to the civil rights movement, which is stuff that I read about all the time. I love reading African American literature from the civil rights movement. And Nina Simone, she's an amazing creative leader, and to use that platform, her songwriting, her creativity, her musicality, to make a statement, I think is the meaning I was looking for when I was not working in the advertising industry. Right?
Can I tell you something that's going to blow your mind?
Yeah,
I saw her in Ireland.
Did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Queen.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah. And we just sort of stumbled across it, if you like. When we were backpacking through Ireland, somebody said, "Do you want to come and see Nina Simone tonight?" I was like,
when was that?
80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Getting back to before you started or came into Tank, because we've got such a variety of people listening to this and a lot of young people like Shani, how important is it, do you think, to work for other people before you start your own business?
It's not important at all.
Okay.
No, it's not important
Great.
at all. I think the mistake we make is that we think we have to give our creativity to someone so they can then on-sell it to somebody else. And I think we've been taught that, you and I, in our generation, right? And I just think in 2025, that's a mistake to teach young people that they have to pay their dues, give their creativity to an agency or an agent or someone, and then so they can then on-sell it to a client so that the young person can get experience. Young people have so much at their disposal. And I say this because I have 3 young people. I'm raising 3 young people. I would say the same thing to them. They have so much agency, technology, community at their disposal that they could start something and fail and then start something else again within a couple of weeks and then keep doing that for 6 months. And that is priceless experience.
They're learning each time.
Absolutely. And they can come together and work together and create something and solve real world problems rather than just selling off their creativity so they can sell more soap or detergent or stuff. They can actually create stuff that's new and needed in the world rather than feeling that pressure to go and find a job and work somewhere else.
Okay. It's a really interesting answer, I think. What about, we're laughing at Shani over here. She's going, oh, okay, it's the opposite of what I've been told.
She's nodding.
What do you think about their lack of business knowledge? Or do they have a lack of business knowledge? Do you think that's important?
That's a really good question, right? Go and talk to the founders of some really great startups or successful startups, and I guarantee you they haven't done an MBA. I guarantee you they haven't paid their dues and learned business knowledge from somewhere and applied it to a new great Australian luggage brand or something. Business knowledge is learnt whilst you're in the arena, and it's the best kind of knowledge to learn, right? I know that the knowledge that I've gained in running Tank for 20 years is better than any MBA that I could do. And I've considered going and doing one, but no diss on any other MBAs, I've paid off on them right already. But 20 years in business is so much more valuable, and you'll learn so much more than going off and then being an employee somewhere.
It's very much about making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes and learn from them, as long as you learn from them and own them. Would you be fair to say that?
Of course.
Because I see the pressure that young kids, because I'm working a lot in universities, and I see the pressure, Shani, that they put on themselves as well. And it is okay to sort of go, well, next time I do that, I mean, I remember the very first wedding I photographed, which was a long time ago now. And when I dropped them off, they said, we've already paid you. And I said, no, you haven't. And then the grandpa said, we wrote you a check, and that's where we came undone, because he couldn't show me the check part. Thank goodness he didn't say we paid you cash, but it was a huge learning experience, you know, before, because I didn't understand the business of anything. But yeah, okay, that's really taken.
Absolutely.
And you do a lot of work within the youth space. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm a director at the Centre of Multicultural Youth, which is an amazing organisation based in Carlton in Melbourne. We work across Victoria, but also some national programs as well. We have, just under 200 employees and about 800 volunteers. So it's not a small organisation. And I work with a wonderful group of directors and chair. and the founder CEO, Carmen Guerra, as well. She founded CMY 37 years ago. So remarkable organisation that advocates and provides programs and for multicultural young people from all over the world, right? That are here in Australia, and the exposure that's given me to, people who have multicultural kids who have been here from East Africa, Middle East, Asia, and just trying to get a footing. I said to Carmen when I first met her, I wish an organisation like this was around when I was younger, and it's sorely needed.
And was that the catalyst or not for you looking into your heritage and your name change?
Yeah,
because when I first met you, you were Jim.
Yeah, so one of the things that happened to me in primary school, actually, 1979, was teachers went up to my mum, who's passed away now, and they said, "Oh, look, we're going to call Dimitri Jimmy because it's a little bit easier for us and it'll help him fit in, and it's not so ethnic." And Mum, it was 97. Right, yeah, they were the things that.
What suburb were we in?
Footscray.
Oh, you should have been in Richmond. It was only Greek back then.
Right, yeah, Footscray.
Wow.
And, we grew up in a very anglicised, whitewashed world.
Wow.
Very racist world that I grew up in. Mainstream TV made fun of our names, right? There were white people dressing up as Greek people on national television, prime time. So there was an element, multicultural kids have an element of shame about who they are. They grow up feeling ashamed of who they are. And one thing that happens is when the rest of the world says, "Oh, you'll fit in if we call you this," you just kind of grow up, grade prep, grade 1, you grow up accepting that. Right? So I don't have any identification ever, have never had any identification that says Jim Antonopoulos. My degree has Dimitri Antonopoulos. My passport, my birth certificate, my driver's license, always had. My family calls me Dimitri. Whenever I go to Greece, my friends, I have lots of friends and family in Greece, they all turn around and say to me, "What the fuck is Jim?" Right? So over the last 10 years or so, I've just decided that it's everyone else's problem, not mine. My name is Dimitri, and if people can't handle that, pronounce that, that's their fucking problem, not mine. And I wish my mum and also me in grade prep had that agency and ability to advocate for ourselves in the early late 70s,
absolutely,
which we didn't. And unfortunately, in my experience, that shame still exists.
For you or for the young kids?
No, for young kids, because otherwise you wouldn't be nodding over there, right?
Yes.
So that shame still exists. And it's subtle and it's casual racism. It really is. So as I got older, I get a lot more jaded and a lot more courageous to advocate for young kids and yourself. Because you were just a young kid once upon a time. We have to do that.
Sorry, the dog's had a dog interlude then, who's very needy, Staffy. I'm sorry that your mum didn't see it.
No, I mean,
but I'm glad that you've come full circle and that you own it. I think everything that we do, we have to own, right?
Absolutely, and it speaks a lot of the need for even migrants. My parents are migrants. They from Greece. They came here in the 60s. The need for just migrants, not just their children, to fit in and be accepted. It's huge, and what they're willing to do to achieve that, it speaks to that.
Clearly, you've talked about working with organisations and businesses that have a purpose. Do they find you, or do you find them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's like chicken or egg, right? I think something changes. I remember writing one of my weekly journals many years ago, an article, an essay called "Dickheads at the Door." If you've got dickheads knocking at the door consistently, you've got to ask yourself, what am I doing to attract these dickheads at my door? So
it's a magnet.
It is, right? So, and I realized that in our business, if we're consistently getting clients that really didn't align on values, didn't see the world in the same way as we did, the work was, just you did it for the money. There was something that we were doing to attract those clients. So we changed everything we were doing. So in essence, that helps us. And in marketing, it's called positioning. So we positioned ourselves truthfully in a way that no more dickheads knock on the door, and organisations that want to listen to underrepresented voices, advocate for marginalised communities, and use creativity to bridge the gaps to solve that problem, they're the ones that tend to knock on our doors more so than anyone. We don't get any dickheads knocking on the door. Dickheads is a catch-all term for people that when you answer the door, it's like, why are you here? Like,
you know, like what I'm saying.
Why are you here? Right.
It is funny because when I was trying to think of the name for the Brownbill Effect, I wanted to call it nodickheadsallowed.com. And my husband wouldn't let me, but it's kind of the working title.
Yeah, of course. It works for them.
It works. Given that, what do you feel is the most important work that you've done so far? Or have you yet to do it?
I'm raising 3 kids. That's the most important work that I've done.
Nice.
Everything that I do is for them, right? So and I've been in the situation where I'm at work feeling like I'm doing soulless work, means I go home feeling that way. And I don't want to do that. But if I'm at work feeling like I'm doing nourishing work and my kids are asking me, they constantly ask, Mum, Dad, what did you do today? If I'm able to be proud of the answer, and I don't want to sit there and say I helped someone sell more soap or stuff, that's not meaningful to me, right? So the work we do and the life we lead, whether we like it or not, it's intrinsically linked. And I know they talk of work-life balance. It's more, I believe in more work-life harmony, where if you can't sit at the dinner table with your children and bring the learnings that from your working life to the table, and those learnings be nourishing, ethical, purposeful, world-changing, and enriching for them, then what are you doing? So the work that we do, where like Karina, my wife, and our core team, Ben and Marita, the 3 of them are flying to Yarralin next week.
Where's Yarralin?
Yarralin is 400 k's south of Katherine.
Okay.
So they're taking the red eye to Darwin, landing at 1 a.m, getting up at 6 a.m. the next morning, 4.5 hours sleep, getting on a very tiny plane to Yarralin, 2 hours south, because we're working with the Wurundjeri Corporation, Aboriginal Corporation there, helping them articulate and gather their community vision. We've done that for a number of Aboriginal corporations in remote communities. Cardidimanan, which is in Wadare, one of the really complex communities in Australia. And that for us, we bring, not only do we make friends there who text us when our footy teams are playing, but we bring joy back to the dinner table with our children. We bring lessons and humility as well. Because if you haven't been to a remote community around Australia, it's very different to Richmond and Albert Park in Melbourne.
It certainly is.
And so, and this is in our country, right? This is on our watch. And if we can't advocate or help and work alongside these communities, who will?
If you ever need the need for photography over there. I work with Indigenous photographers as well, and we've just been working with When Harry Met Sally, the podcast that I have with Harriet Tarbuck. We worked with an Indigenous photographer from Broome.
Amazing.
And I've also worked with a guy that we went up to Central Australia and run a program many years ago. So, and there's a whole community of Indigenous photographers doing really cool stuff. Awesome. Do you find time for personal projects?
Personal projects.
I mean, I know you do your newsletter, and I know you're on the director of the board at CMY, but as far as Jim, the creative artist, or do you do anything like that these days? What is it that you do when you're not working and you're not enriching your children's lives? What's your thing?
My thing. I journal a lot. Just
so you write?
Handwrite. Yeah, I do that a lot. I draw. I've always drawn since I was a kid. So last year I just finished the 3 pieces that are hanging in my living room, actually, of the stolen Parthenon marbles that are in the British Museum. So I had a British photographer photograph them in a museum, send me the photos, and I drew 3 of them. I just work in graphite. So I do that. I do a bit of that.
It's how important is it for you?
Oh, it's meditation. You know, it's stillness. It's I think most creative people have that. We would call it a creative outlet. I don't like that term. They have this sort of practice where they find real stillness in doing it. You know, whether it's, you know, going out and just shooting for a few hours when the sun's setting, or, you know, sitting and drawing for 3 hours and not having to answer to anyone. There is real stillness.
Do you know what mine is? Ceramics.
Oh, wow.
You can see it all around the house.
Tell me.
Everything. This
Are
is
they
all
yours?
mine. Everything. And I go for 2, sometimes 3 hours every week. And my phone's switched off. I'm covered in clay.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for 2 years now. And it is so important to me.
Yeah, that's it. It's beautiful.
Shani came down a couple of weeks ago and we've done a video of me why it's important. And now I'm just getting into illustrating. I'll show you some stuff afterwards on the ceramics and coming through. I don't know. I just feel there's so much noise. The other place for me is the beach too.
Yeah, of course.
Where I'm fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time. What is the one thing that you'd like to talk to us about that you'd like to pass on for future creatives starting out in a career? And it can be all creatives.
Yeah, of course. The creative industry is fragmented, and I think it's in a constant state of flux. And that hasn't changed over the last 2 or 3 decades, since the early 90s, when we sort of faced the technological disruption of desktop publishing and then the internet and then mobile phones and now AI. Then there's something else around the corner, right? And the creative industry has really borne the brunt of it, because the creative industry is the creators of stuff, and practices and startups and businesses in the emerging area. So I think if young creative people or emerging creative people get their head around that, and look at the longer horizon rather than look at the now. So a lot of people ask, what are we going to do about AI?
Oh, yeah.
That's the wrong question to be asking.
I didn't ask it.
Yeah, it's really the wrong question to be asking. I think looking at a longer horizon around career building and looking at what I mentioned earlier, looking at working together and as multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary creative people, rather than seeking employment to sell our creativity to a client. I would rather think about our creativity as the ability to build bridges between one another, because between us, we have the skills to do amazing things. We have the skills to create change, to work with communities, to create product, to bring new product to market. But the default is that we would go and work in an agency or a studio, and then we would work with a client, or we would freelance. It's like those 2 defaults. I think there are so many more options for creative people to carve out a career.
Well, I guess that the actual term of being creative, it's about be creative and be creative with how you do things. I find that also very interesting when people send me their CVs, like really beautiful designers send me Word documents. And it's like, can we be creative at all stages of your career?
Agreed.
And with how you live your life. I think that, as I said, I've been reading your journals, and they do make me laugh, and they do make me contemplate, and they do make me smile. They never make me angry, but they. I'm sure one will one day, because it seems like
I'll work on that.
Yeah, work on that. Don't. It seems like you touch many hearts and souls everywhere. Like, as I said, with those testimonials, they're from Madrid and Sweden and Germany, and then there's South Africa. It's I'm really excited to see what happens next. What have you got on the cards to happen next, or would you have to? Not allowed to tell me. You have to tell me.
Oh, look, Tank's keeping us very busy. We've got some really wonderful engagements coming up. We're working with some really wonderful organisations and Aboriginal corporations. We're writing a book for an Aboriginal corporation at the moment to celebrate their 10 years since determination. Tank's keeping us really busy, and hopefully, probably a trip to Greece next year with family.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Jim, you talk about the Indigenous communities quite a lot. Are you doing anything within the Greek community?
Yeah, I've been working with the Greek Australian newspaper Neos Cosmos since I was 17.
Do you know what? I weirdly remember that when you're at college.
Yeah, so I've been working with Chris is a friend of mine. He runs the paper. I advise, and I'm on the phone to him all the time. He's on the phone to me. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important media vehicle for the Greek Australian community, and I've dedicated, a large chunk of my career to be linked to it, and I'm really proud of that. I'm enormously proud of that. There's a massive digital transformation going on at the moment. But yeah, that's with Neos Cosmos, was the newspaper, and it's really exciting. So yeah, I've dedicated a lot of years to that, and I'm really proud of that.
As you should be. As you should be. And we've talked a little bit about, or a lot about, how you work and what's important to you. Can you just touch on the importance of collaboration?
Yeah,
for
it's critical.
The audience.
Yeah, it's critical. I mentioned earlier building bridges between one another. I just think we've got to learn how to work together really well and then put the idea of working for a client aside for a moment. I mean, it has its purpose. It's, it could be core business. It's core business for the majority of the industry. I get it. Just put that aside for a moment. And if we were able to collaborate with one another and pull the multiple disciplines that exist in the creative industry, and I include engineers and photographers and producers and graphic designers and illustrators, and the list goes on, art directors, all of a sudden you've got, the possibilities are endless, right? The possibilities are completely endless for us to create product, imagine a new kind of industry playing field, imagine new products, and a new service to the world. I think the creativity is very powerful, and we underestimate it. And I think in some ways, we've commodified it as an industry, and we've lost our link to it as well. And that's a shame.
How do you think we bring it back?
Collaboration. I think we need to put ourselves in situations where we have uncomfortable conversations, where we face truth about, we spoke about racism earlier. We face some uncomfortable truths, and also we face some uncomfortable truths about the industry itself. It's still led by white men. It's really sad. It's still, the champions of our industry are few and far between. Right?
And accountants.
Of course. I've sat and I've been invited to a judge awards, and it's a complete fucking farce. It really is. I've never sat there and thought, wow, this is methodical, insightful, and ethical. I've never walked away thinking about an awards judging experience at all.
Ever thought about starting your own awards?
No. I've sat in awards where the entire panel, and I wrote about this in my weekly essay, the entire panel was gobsmacked at how quote unquote brilliant a piece of 30-second advertising was. And I was the only one that put my hand up and I said, excuse me, how do you call that brilliant when all the brown people were cleaning the toilets, serving the food, and all the white people were heading off to their fancy retirement village? Because that was what the ad was about. And I just think we've got a long fucking way to go. And this was less than 12 months ago. We've got a long way to go.
And on that note, what do you think about ageism at the moment? Like, that's a hot topic. Is it a thing?
Yeah, of course it is. I think it is. But I think also we've got to look at, again, creating our own paths, whether we're 50-something, 60-something, or 40-something, or 30-something, and not feel like we've got a square peg round hole back into, become a senior art director just because I want to, and you're not hiring me because I'm old. That's just a circular conversation that will go nowhere. I think the wisdom of people over 45 is extraordinary. It's bountiful, and it's.
I love that word.
It is. It's there, and it should be harnessed. And we should just look at ways to harness it ourselves without asking permission of old models and outdated institutions, instead of trying to fit back into them.
And not say, am I too old? Say, this is what I can offer.
No, say I'm fucking old.
I'm
Like,
really fucking
I'm
old.
old and I'm wise and I'm
Yeah.
burnt and I'm jaded and experienced and I've been there and I've done that. I've got a lot to offer.
Okay.
If you don't want it, I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's really straightforward.
Next week's journal.
Yeah, that's right.
Can we do that?
Yeah, ageism.
Ageism, because it's something that I get approached about all the time with people ringing me going, do you think I'm too old? I go, do you feel too old? You still got great ideas? If you think you're old, you're old. But I come from a place where Dad went back to uni at 50 and studied until he was 60. He's now nearly 96 and he still is involved in, he's so switched on. It's terrifying. He drives me crazy, but love him to bits. But it's, you know, am I too young? I told, is there ever, and the other thing was, is there ever a right time? It's like, well, I don't know that the planets align all the time. It's like, if it feels right, do it.
That's right.
That's how I've always sort of floated through, well, I haven't floated, I've sort of just boomed through my career and created things or holes that I've seen and kept relationships up. Like, I'm so fortunate. But I'm very much like you are, a people person, and understand the joys of collaboration. And when I was looking at, well, we're going to do a new series of videos, you were certainly one of the first people that popped up.
Thank you.
Because of everything that you've talked about today. And plus you're just a really lovely person, which
Thank
is
you, Sally.
that is just a that is what it's about. There was not a dickhead knocking at my door this morning, darling. So
Thank you.
we're going to be happy about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for spending all this time with us today.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And if we were going to be left with one thought from Dimitri Antonopoulos, what is that thought?
I think I've given you lots of thoughts, actually. Go back and watch this video and listen.
Hey, what a great idea.
I think we have forgotten how to listen.
So can we just get your website for anybody that wants to look at that?
Tank is wearetank.com.au, and my website is dimitriantonopoulos.com, which leads you off to all the various things that I do.
And can they sign up to your journal through that?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Front page of the Tank website.
And this will be going up on YouTube, my YouTube, also our socials, and probably Dimitri's socials too, and maybe in the Greek newspaper. No. Anyway, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's been fantastic, and I'm sorry about the dog.
Oh, no, pleasure.
Okay, bye.